I have way too many hobbies, and lately they started colonizing every corner of my house. Architecture, model making, leatherwork, resin dice, and whatever new thing I discover each month. So today, I'm designing something I've always wanted. A creative studio that can finally keep up with all the things I love to make. Whenever I design a space that's deeply personal, I always start with a simple floor plan. Not the details, just the relationships. What needs to be close together, what needs room to breathe, and what deserves a moment of its own. For this studio, the first thing I knew I needed was a digital workspace. A calm corner where I can sketch digitally, model, but more importantly, edit videos and do most of my quiet, focused work. Right next to that, I tucked in a small writing pod. It's intentionally compact, just big enough to step inside and shut the world out. Write scripts for world building, make notes without distraction. And from there, the space really just opens up into a large central table, which is going to be the heart of the studio. This flexible work surface, I can use it for model making, dioramas, leatherworking, or whatever new hobby inevitably shows up next. And along the window wall, I added a long work counter with lower and upper cabinets. This is where all the real tools and materials live. The paints, the glue, the blades, the foam, the resin, the leather, or any projects that's already built that just doesn't have a home yet. All these things maybe don't look glamorous, but they're what make the studio actually work. And along the back wall, the first thing you see when you walk in, I wanted to add just a bit of a display shelf, a place for objects that I build or things that inspire me and are the reminders of why I love creating in the first place. Once I had the plan, I tried sketching a single interior view of the space. It's not perspective perfect, it never is. The proportions are a little off, but that's not really the point. What I'm trying to understand here is how the space feels. Where does the light come from? How do the shelves help frame your view when you enter? What does it look like to stand at the central table with the project in front of you? These sketches aren't about accuracy, they're just about atmosphere, about capturing a mood before the details start to get in the way. And even in this loose drawing, I could feel it. The openness of the work table, the calm of the digital corner, the warmth of the display wall putting you into the room. Once I had that emotional anchor, that sense of what the space wanted to be, it's time to take all of this into Revit and start giving it some structure. I began the model with the simplest thing possible, a box. From there, I cut in the main entry and added the glass door. It's a small move, but the way you enter Studio sets the tone for everything inside. The first room I modeled was the digital workspace. It has no exterior windows by design. I wanted a place where I can fully control sound and light, especially when I'm recording videos. a quiet corner carved out of the larger space. Next came the writing pod. This is probably one of my favorite parts of this design. It's just a small wood-faced enclosure raised up 1 foot above the main floor with 1 foot walls and a 1 foot ceiling that drops down just a bit overhead. It's just enough to feel separate, like a retreat inside the studio where I can focus on writing. Then I just turned to the exterior walls and started adding windows. Not everywhere, just in the places where daylight could shape the room in a meaningful way. Soft indirect light for the main studio, a brighter wash along the long work counter, and enough openness to make the space feel grounded. Then I modeled that long work counter, the backbone of the studio. Lower cabinets, upper cabinets, and a full span of storage that can finally hold all the tools, materials, and half-finished projects that never seem to have a home. Once all these fixed elements were in place, now I'm starting to test the furniture. A desk for the digital room and another for the writing pod. A large work table in the center, chairs, stools. I'll cycle through pieces until something clicks. It's never about the exact chair, it's about the feeling the arrangement gives you. From there, I begin softening the space. Curtains in front of the writing pod, so I can close that area off quietly without feeling shut in. I had a few plants that give the studio warmth and a bit of life. And then, to imagine how it might feel lived in, add the small things. Projects scattered on the work table, a record player on the counter, objects I've made tucked into shelves, little glimpses of the creative mess that makes a studio feel honest. With everything in place, the model finally had a shape, and more importantly, it had some character. And with the palette set, warm wood, soft neutral floor, materials that stay quiet so the work can speak louder, let me show you around. As you step into the studio, the first thing you see on the back wall is that display shelf. Pieces I've made, objects that inspire me, small reminders of why I create in the first place. And next to that on the left is the digital workspace. Quiet, controlled, maybe focused, but it's a room designed for editing, modeling, recording, all the creative work that needs calm to flourish. And next to that on the left, the writing pod. Raised just a foot above the floor, wrapped in warm wood, with the ceiling lowered ever so slightly. A place to step away and sink into ideas. The central work table anchors the studio. Big enough for models, dioramas, leatherworking, resin projects, all the things I move between week to week. This is the part of the studio that never stays clean for long, and that's what I love about it. Along the window wall is the work counter. All the tools and materials finally have a home, and the daylight makes everything feel grounded and more alive. For me, this studio isn't about creating the perfect workspace. It's about building a place that feels true. A place where all the different parts of my creativity can live together instead of fighting for space. I think a lot of us have way more hobbies than we like to admit, and sometimes they spill out into our homes, our schedules, our lives, in ways that are sometimes messy, but they're always meaningful. Designing the space is my way of saying there's room for all of it. The serious work, the side projects, the experiments, the things we make just because they make us happy. And maybe you're the same way. Maybe your creativity doesn't fit into one box either. If so, I hope this gave you a glimpse of what your own version of a dream studio could be. Thanks for being here with me. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious and design with intent.